Hello, my name is Helene Unger, and here is my story. In the spring of 2016, I ran a 50-mile ultramarathon in New Paltz, New York. Having been an avid runner since 2007, I was drawn to this particular race called Rock the Ridge. You see, I had run up mountains before, including Mount Washington, and this particular adventure was planned as a way to honor the milestone of turning 50. In the running world, running specific miles for your birthday is not uncommon. It turned out to be the perfect day, and I talked myself through every mile, knowing I would never quit. I completed the race triumphant. Not long after I thought I had physically recovered, I decided I would do another ultra, so I started training in the early summer of 2016. It wasn't long before I began to suffer from leg swelling, difficulty breathing, and extreme fatigue. I attributed the symptoms to heat, the lasting effects of the 50-mile race I had done, getting old, and of course my new excuse, impending menopause. I truly thought the resolution to these issues was to train even harder. Except in early August, I found myself with severe pain under my right clavicle and more intense breathing problems. I stopped at a Medi Center one day on the way home from work on August 10th, 2016, and I was told I needed to go to the ER immediately. After many tests and anxiously awaiting answers, I was told I had blood clots in my lungs. The next day, it was further discovered they were also in my left leg. This puzzled everyone, as I really was the picture of good health, at least from the outside. I left the hospital 3 days later and had been put on blood thinners and completely baffled by this new diagnosis. I think down deep I knew something was really wrong. Within less than 3 weeks of being discharged from the hospital, I was back again in the ER. This time, I had stabbing pain in my pelvic area. During this ER visit, I found out I had cysts on my ovaries, and I was sent to the gynecologist. She did some blood work, and once it looked like something was suspicious, it was recommended I see a gynecological oncologist. My life went off course in a way I could never imagine. When I saw the gynecological oncologist, we did more tests, and eventually all signs pointed to possible malignancy. But of course, the only way to be sure is surgery. I scheduled my surgery for October 28th, 2016, and was told about best case scenario and worst case scenario. Of course, there was still this issue of the blood clots, so pre-surgery I had to have an IVC filter put in, and I had to have Levinox shots given to me leading up to the surgery day. The night before surgery, I was so anxious that I cleaned. I had Greg, that's my spouse, hanging photos, and I baked cupcakes. You see, this was my version of preparing for the worst. Those cupcakes were for Greg to hand out to guests visiting in the event of my untimely passing. I was terrified of surgery. After all, I had only ever had my wisdom teeth pulled. So on October 28th, 2016, what I had hoped would be a 2-hour just remove the cyst surgery became a 5.5-hour hysterectomy with lymph nodes removed and a diagnosis of not one, but 2 cancers. Diagnosis, ovarian cancer and endometrial cancer. I was now a cancer patient, and chemo was next up on the to-do list. The good news was that both cancers were stage 1. It was a rare scenario, but much better than it could have been. This roller coaster ride was not ending anytime soon. Greg encouraged me to keep thinking that if I could run 50 miles, I could beat cancer and I could get through this. I was told I would lose all my hair by the second chemo. By New Year's Eve, my hair was falling into the sink and onto the floor in clumps. Happy New Year, 2017. Between the foreign object, the port, sticking out of my chest, losing all my hair, scars on my stomach, rashes from surgical glue, and feeling so incredibly weak and sick, I really just couldn't bear to look at myself in the mirror anymore. I was on a lot of steroids, so I gained 20 pounds over the course of the treatment. I was angry, and every time I went to weigh in, I was obsessed with the rising number. My confidence was at an all-time low, and I kept saying, the Helene that was once there, she's gone. I also couldn't run anymore, and I felt incredibly left out. And the vice I so loved was a distant memory. I had a new normal, and I had to focus on getting to the chemo finish line. Greg never missed a chemo, and my family and friends visited me at treatment. One friend, a breast cancer survivor, came to see me with her pink wig, and I wore my teal one. We celebrated our cancer sisterhood. Some evenings, my husband carried me to the car after chemo. There was always some type of post-chemo surprise when I got home. The greatest comfort was my golden doodle Jax. He never disappointed me. In fact, I am convinced he knew that I had cancer before anyone else. He never left my side. It was truly a long winter in 2017, but as chemo came and went, I just kept moving forward. I really didn't process much of what I was going through, but I desperately wanted my life back. As I approached March 31st, 2017, I prepared a big end of chemo party in my private room. I love a good party, and my closest friends and family came to celebrate with me. This was the day I was waiting for. I was ready to cross the finish line, and I expected everything would just go back to normal. I could not have been more wrong about that. After chemo, I struggled with memory issues, focus issues, and I had some flashbacks from time to time. I just couldn't see me, and I didn't feel like me at all. I hated being bald, and it just seemed like me that my hair would just never come back. One day, my 5-year-old niece saw me by accident without my hat on, and she was quite shocked. She asked, "Why, Aunt Helene, don't you have any hair?" I thought quickly and replied, "Well, because I take a magical medicine that makes my hair disappear, but then it comes back. Just wait, you'll see." She looked at me perplexed and said, "So, Aunt Helene, you're not a girl anymore?" Miss Grace kept checking to see that my hair was returning, and she was certainly surprised to see that it was. During my treatment, it was strongly recommended that I take a gene test. You see, my father died from cancer in 2004 at the age of 60, and my mom currently has stage 4 breast cancer that has spread to her bones. So, being the diligent and dutiful patient that I was, I took the test. I was told I had Lynch syndrome. The mutation is MSH6. When I heard this, I immediately envisioned myself in the movie The X-Men. I've always enjoyed dressing up as a superhero, so now I thought I really must be one. This Lynch syndrome predisposes me to a list of other cancers. This is my new normal, and this is my new life. Fast forward to today. It's well over a year since my last chemo, and my body is even stronger today than it ever was. I do see doctors every quarter. I am vigilant regarding how my body feels, and I'm certainly much more compassionate to my own body. Does all that I went through seem unfair? It sure did feel like it at times, but when I think, why me, I respond, why not me? We have very little control over what happens to us at times, but we have a lot of control over how we choose to react to it. So yes, I am a cancer survivor, but I know that I am so much more than that. Thank you.